Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Jadi terima kasih pada you all kerana sudi untuk saya berkongsi pada hari ini. Terima kasih pada Izzah yang uruskan benda ni. Saya bahasa campur-campur lah ya.
Boleh.
Okey. Izzah, kalau ada masalah beritahu ya saya sebab saya tak nampak. Kalau Teams tu kita boleh nampak kan dia punya apa. Okey, untuk paper ni saya difahamkan 2 Mac 2021 ya. And then untuk yang dia punya apa nama, dia punya syllabus dia adalah seperti yang saya tunjukkan tu. There are six category ya. And then the first one is Malaysian tax system. Okay, yang number 2 income tax for individuals. Number 3 income tax for company. Number 4 is RPGT. Number 5 is sales tax and service tax. Ini boleh guna pointer ke? Tak boleh ya? Ataupun saya move ke Z ni nampak ke? Kalau saya move ke Z ni nampak tak?
Nampak Uncle.
Sorry. Okay, so apa nama? So ada 6 bahagian ni. So kalau you perasan, saya letak benda ni lah. Okay, this is LHTN ataupun IRB. All these taxes we call them as direct taxes. Yeah. And then this one is under custom. Custom, sales tax and service tax is under custom lah. Okay. And then the exam is 3 hours, computer based. Bahagian A, you all familiar lah ni kan Okay. Cuma yang 2 question 15 marks based on B and C. So one competition for B and one competition for C So kena fokus kat sini lah. And then the expectation when I read the syllabus to be able to explain and compute. Yeah. As you know, taxation is about money. It is a revenue to the government. So apa-apa pun come to dollar and cents lah. So kita boleh tahu macam mana nak kira dia. Yeah. Okay, so what I plan to do is to cover all these things, not in a detail, tapi dalam masa 1 jam or so, try to explain the concept behind all those taxes supaya bila you all ulang kaji tu you boleh faham lah. Sekejap Uncle dah dapat CCA 2001, sudah 20 tahun you also so memang ada yang lupa lah Okay, next one we start with the main Malaysian tax system. Okay, saya tak cover all tapi I will cover those yang I think is relevant to you all lah. Okay, the first one, look at this slide Basically, the federal government revenue and expenses. On the left hand side is on the right hand side is the spending lah. As you know, bila setiap tahun kita ada budget speech kan by the Minister of Finance tu. So lah in 2018, this one 2018 contoh saja. The pattern is about the same every year. So 2018 the budget 280 bilion 280 bilion operating untuk yang pengurusan gaji semua ni 234 bilion and development expenditure infrastructure all those things 46 billion. So the question is how do the government get the money So biasanya about almost 45% of the revenue of the government to come from income tax. Yeah, income tax is direct taxes lah. Okay, and then about 25% come from indirect taxes. And this one and this one. The rest are borrowings ke ataupun non-tax revenue lah. So about 45 to 25. So maksudnya kat situ ada 70%. Betul lah? 45 campur 25. 70 kan? 70% of the government revenue tu comes from taxes. So this is the reason why taxes is very important to the government. And then bila in the budget speech kalau you perasan, most of the content tu is touching about taxes lah. Yeah. So mungkin saya akan tanya what is the importance of taxes kan? So this one contribute about 70% of the government revenue, to be spent on the development and operating expenditure for the country kan. Then your question is what is direct taxes and indirect taxes. Just now kita bagi tahu direct taxes contribute 45%, indirect about 23 ataupun 25 kan. So direct taxes, these are the taxes under direct taxes dah. Personal tax, company tax, petroleum tax, withholding tax, stamp duty and RPGT. So dalam SCC syllabus just now kita cover yang this one lah, personal tax, company tax, petroleum tak ada, withholding tax ada, stamp duty tak ada, RPGT kan. This one, all this one is governed by IRB lah. And then on the right hand side, indirect taxes, we talk about service tax, sales tax. So in short, they call it SST lah. And then import duty and excise duty. So all this one is managed by custom. So these two agencies, IRB and custom, they collect the money on behalf of Ministry of Finance. So Ministry of Finance will collect the money and they will distribute accordingly lah, according to the plan kan. Okay. So in the past kita ada GST kan, GST basically they replace these two lah. So far, are you okay? Are you all okay? Ada tak apa-apa nak tanya yang this one? We make it santai-santai lah. Ada soalan tak SCC on this one?
Tak ada.
Tak ada angka.
Ha?
Tak ada angka.
So far okay ya. So this is familiar to you this one Okay. Okay, very good. And then kenapa dia panggil direct taxes and indirect taxes? Can someone share to me? Why direct, why indirect? Just untuk knowledge lah. Isa, you want to share what is it called, direct and indirect?
Tak sure.
Boleh saya share?
Yeah, Firdaus kan ni, Okay.
Okay, direct maybe straightforward to people, which is macam income tax tanpa orang tengah.
Okay.
Macam indirect tax pula dia ada orang tengah, which is dia daripada supplier, and then the consumer consumer beli untuk akan bayar service tax ataupun sales tax. So indirect tax dibayar oleh kita bayar tax melalui orang tengah, which is supplier.
Okay.
And then direct tax kita direct to the government, which is LHDN untuk bayar tax.
Okay. Betul Firdaus tu. Direct taxes meaning that lembaga hasil they collect direct from the person, macam individu ataupun syarikat ataupun the person lah directly. Tapi indirect tax this one sometimes they call it consumption tax. Kita bayar melalui consumption. Katalah you all pergi makan angin, duduk hotel, so you kena bayar service tax kan. You bayar pada hotel, hotel akan bayar kepada custom. Betul lah macam yang, so the indirect tu maknanya you bayar through another person. Betul lah tu. Yeah, and then we pay when we consume. Tapi direct ni, we collect direct from the company or person tu from your income. Yeah, from your pocket directly. Okay. Nizam, do you learn something hari ni?
Yes.
Okay. Mana tahu you guys ni nanti satu hari akan jadi participant kan Okay, next one Okay, I noted dalam ibu punya syllabus dia ada self-assessment kan Self-assessment. Do you understand what is it self-assessment? They call it self-assessment. Do you all faham? Anybody? Anis Taman Keramat? Kenapa self-assessment? Anis, you there?
Yeah, uncle.
What is it called self-assessment tu? Ada di Malaysia ada. What is it called self-assessment?
How? Tak tahu.
Tak tahu, okay. Senang jawapan tak tahu kan dia. Aisyah, can you try?
Untuk self-assessment ni mungkin nak tahu pasal form apa yang kita gunakan, macam contoh for business source of income kita pakai form P. Lepas tu kalau macam tu lah, form P ataupun form BE.
Okay, okay, fair comment. Okay, so just want to make sure that you all are still around. Takut nanti pergi masak lah itulah ini kan. Okay, in the past, biasanya kita lembaga hasil akan sediakan borang, kita isi dan dia orang akan assess lah. Yeah. Tapi efektif, I can't remember correctly, 2001 or so, they come up with this idea of self-assessment. Self-assessment basically, the tax authority expect the taxpayer untuk assess sendiri dia punya cukai dia, be it RPGT ke ataupun income tax ke, personal tax ke, company tax kan. So they expect the respective party taxpayer to make their self-declaration, self-assessment. Yeah, they need to compute themselves. And then on top of that, they must also comply with all the requirements. Yeah, so the taxpayer is expected to know what are their responsibility. Dia income tax dia tak apa ni, income tax or custom, they don't panggil you nicely, okay, Firdaus, can you come and send your form B ke BE kan? Okay, can you please make the payment? Dia tak expect, they don't, sometimes they remind lah, tapi it is not their responsibility to tell the taxpayer to do what. Yeah, so the taxpayer must understand the law and they must comply the law fully, or else the penalty will come. Yeah, so this was sometimes certain company they engage tax agent lah to help with their tax compliant punya matter. Yeah, so itu maknanya it is burden lah. Tapi dalam industri, kalau you want to join the tax line pun okay, it is specialized industry dan the demand is there lah. Yeah, insyaAllah. So saya bagi contoh macam responsibility of tax estimate. Okay, I think you all pun dah tahu, if a company, let's say we talk about 2021, now it's 2021, right? So before the financial year start in January, let's say we talk about financial business period January to December. So by November, sebulan sebelum the financial year start in November, the company must report to the Inland Revenue their tax estimate for 2021 by using form CP204. Yeah, and then based on the tax estimate, they will make the payment lah every month. Yeah, starting for the second month, I think February, before the 15 of the month tu, dia kena bayar. Kalau lepas 15, dia kena bayar 10% penalty. Dan macam itulah. And then the estimate ni must not be less than 85% of last year. Tapi the Land Revenue Board give us chances to revise in the 6 and the 9 months. Yeah. Kalau the tax estimate ni, the final tax liability is much higher than the tax estimate, or more than 30% variation, then the 10% penalty will come. Yeah. So these are among the requirement by the tax authority for company tax lah. And then once the account is closing in December, the company must submit Form C. You must submit Form C lah to the tax return for the company within 7 months after closing. So meaning that by July 2022 nanti dia kena hantar lah. Yeah. So this is the final assessment for the company. If your estimate is higher than your punya final assessment, of course you can get a refund. If the final assessment via Form C ni is higher than the estimate, you need to make do the short payment tu sebelum Julai lah, yeah, by 31st July also. So some concept of self-assessment, and any comments ke soalan? Saya bagi contoh sikit-sikit je ya, sebab I nak you all faham what is the basis, kenapa self-assessment. So meaning that the tax authority expect us to comply the law fully on ourselves. They don't come and tell us what to do. So we must understand, we must do ourselves. Or maybe some parties they make use tax agent there to help their business. Dan mana ni sama, under custom ataupun under lembaga hasil sama, yeah. We are all under self-assessment. Okay, selain ni ada any comment?
Uncle.
Yeah.
Kalau tax revise lagi tinggi daripada apa tu current tax payable tu.
Yeah.
IRB akan refund.
Mesti. Betul. Dia akan refund tu. Okay. Tapi kalau final tax assessment based on Form C ke apa-apa, kalau higher then the tax estimate, then kita kena bayar lah.
Penalty kan. Okay.
No, penalty will come if you punya short estimate tu is more than 30%. Example lah, Firdaus katakan you punya Form C, the tax is 1,000 kan? Katalah you punya estimate katalah 500. If you 500 compared to 1,000, you declare 50% kan?
Yeah.
Just 50%. IRB boleh accept up to 30%, meaning that kalau you declare above 700 ke atas, you are safe. Tapi sekarang ni you short by 200 kan? 500 tolak 700 tadi, you are short by you are exceed 30% by 200 kan? So yang mana exceed 30%, you kena kali penalty 10% on 200. So penalty you akan jadi 20 lah.
Okay, uncle.
Okay. Penalty will come only when you exceed 30%. Yang understandmentnya kalau you bayar lebih tak ada penalty lah. Okay. Yang lain okay? Ali, are you okay? Ali Penang? Ali Penang okay?
Okay, uncle.
Kalau you all tak ada soalan, saya nak soal.
Okay. I ada soalan tapi dekat withholding tax maybe after this.
Belum lagi itu. Ada ke soalan dalam sisi yang ni Ada tak dalam soalan yang self assessment ni so far?
So far part ni tak ada lagi.
Mungkin akan datang, mungkin dia ada, mungkin dia boleh tanya under the self assessment system what are the obligation of the company kan? Mungkin. Tapi just saya bagi contoh ni saja. Of course you have to read your books to have a complete picture lah what are the requirements kan. Okay. Next one is on the penalties. I also noted in your syllabus the penalties to be covered. Okay, under the self-assessment system as I mentioned just now, we are expected to oblige with the law. Kalau kita fail, of course the tax penalty will come in. Yeah. Saya bagi contoh untuk corporate tax, dalam SST pun ada dia punya penalty clauses dia. Contohnya macam tadi, kalau kita fail to furnish the estimate of tax payable, so the fine is between 200 to 20,000 ataupun imprisonment to 6 months ataupun both. Okay, let's say later you want to open a business kan, so one of the requirement is to provide tax estimate, telling which you can be fine with this one yeah. So this knowledge is very important, mana tahu you nanti nak jadi business kan. Okay, then after the estimate, of course you can buat monthly installment. So kalau you fail to pay the monthly installment by the 15th, then you will be increased by the 10% yeah, something like that. If you fail to finish Form C, okay, the penalty is 3 times of the tax amount. Okay, kalau with prosecution 200 hingga 20,000 ataupun 6 bulan penjara. Okay, so you can read on your own this one. Tapi itulah, if you fail, meaning that the thing is that if you fail to comply with the tax law, penalty clauses will come in. Boleh So ada kan you punya lecturer ada share this thing?
Ada?
Ada Uncle.
Okay. Okay, then come under withholding tax yang Ali tadi sebut. Okay, the basic concept. Kenapa withholding tax? What is the concept behind the withholding tax? Kalau okay, this is for the non-resident, meaning that the person don't stay in Malaysia kan? Dia datang sekejap. So what happen? Kalau the company and the person has a company in Malaysia ataupun has a macam local company, of course, they stay here. It is easier for the tax authority to come and collect the taxes lah. Apa-apa they can come and audit kan. Tapi untuk yang foreigner ni, untuk yang datang sekejap-sekejap mungkin 2 minggu, sebulan, dia bagi training ataupun dia bagi consultancy kan. So the only way that they can collect the taxes is through withholding tax. Before we make the payment to the non-resident, kita siap-siap tolak, kita bayar kepada lembaga hasil. Otherwise, if you don't do as such, tak ada cara lain kita boleh collect kan. Sebab ada orang katalah people come from Afrika Selatan kan, they will not come again kan. Macam mana you nak collect? So this is the concept of withholding tax. You collect the taxes up front from the payment, and then apa ni? Then give the balance to the non-resident person tu. Tapi non-resident person mungkin argue, why do you collect taxes from my income? So under the double tax agreement, it was agreed between the two countries lah, macam kita ada sign dengan 160 company. So basically agreed kalau the country who, when you derive the income from the country, that country has the right to collect the taxes. Tapi dekat home country dia, katalah Afrika Selatan tadi, of course they need to report income to the tax authority there, right? So tapi sebab that income is already subject to Malaysian tax, so dia boleh claim double tax relief, yeah. Katalah income dia 1,000 already tax in Malaysia, katalah 10%, so dia bayar 100. So when they back in Afrika Selatan, so they need to disclose 1,000 juga, tapi they make assessment based on dia punya local tax law. So at the end, dia boleh dapat relief, dia boleh tolak yang 100 kind of rebate lah yang dia incur kat Malaysia tu. Ya, so kalau ikut gambar rajah ni, let's say 1,000 non-resident invoice kepada this company. So katalah ni technical services subject to withholding 10%. So 10%, 100 dia akan bayar kepada lembaga hasil, baki tu 900 dia akan bagi kepada non-resident. Ya, ni dia konsep dia. So non-resident tu dia akan dapatkan receipt yang 100 tu, they will show in their tax assessment in Afrika tadi ataupun UK mana-mana. So they will get double tax relief, macam rebate lah. So and then you all pun tahu this one few categories of income that is subject to withholding tax. Contract payment, yeah. Contract payment basically those who have permanent establishment in, dia non-resident tapi dia ada permanent establishment. For example, katalah dia ada projek di Malaysia, tapi dia macam projek tu extend more than 6 months, ya. Itu dia masih lagi non-resident. So before that, how do you consider resident? How do you determine resident status of a company? Boleh somebody share to me? Ali, how do you determine a resident status of a company? Macam mana kita tahu dia resident ke bukan non-resident?
Tak sure Uncle.
Tak sure ya. Siapa yang sure ni? Khalida?
Ya.
How do you determine tax resident status of a company?
Saya nak cuba boleh Uncle?
Boleh?
The place where management control is being exercised.
Betul. What is the indication management of control tu?
Communication.
What is the best indication to prove the management and control tu?
Nak cuba boleh?
Boleh?
Maybe every policy decision buat kat Malaysia.
Okay, possible. Tapi yang kalau faham this one tu, then the tax authority normally look at the place where the board of meeting is held. Yeah. But basically company is basically company is controlled by the board of directors. So the tax authority will look into the place where the board of directors to have their meeting. Kalau macam local company, natural lah kan. Management and control by locals, sebab board dia memang kat Malaysia kan. Tapi sometimes macam katalah foreigner tu dia buat construction project dekat Malaysia kan. Dia ada present dekat Malaysia more than 6 months. Kalau macam kita kata permanent establishment. Kalau permanent establishment ni kalau dia ada tapi dia masih lagi non-resident sebab apa? Dia punya management control dia mungkin dekat UK. Dia punya board of meeting dekat UK kan. So this is where withholding tax is still applicable lah. Dia beza dengan technical service yang biasa, yang tu contract payment. Kalau technical service yang biasa, dia come in a short period lah, mungkin 2-3 bulan kan. Dia tak sampai 6 bulan ke apa. Jadi yang itu dia tak ada PE lah, permanent establishment tu. Ya. Dia itulah. Ya, boleh ya. And then we got interest income also subject to 50% also. royalty pun ada. Royalty ni termasuk software lah, ya. Kalau in the context Malaysia, the IRB, even the online data subscription pun fall under software, under royalty. Royalty ni biasa kalau bayar macam license fee pun royalty. Okay. Technical fee tu yang seperti yang saya sebut tadi. Technical fee and contract payment, for now is only applicable kalau services tu perform dekat Malaysia. Ya, kalau dia perform dekat luar negara tak kena withholding tax. And then public entertainer pun ada itu. Saya ada satu lagi, mungkin satu ada dua lagi. You tengok you punya buku tu, ada miscellaneous income pun ada kan. Mungkin 109F kalau tak silap saya tu. Okay, Ali, you say you got a question?
Ya, Uncle.
Okay.
Bukan question sangat, cuma nak in real life actually withholding tax ni macam mana dia punya kejadian dia in real life. Maybe example daripada Proton sendiri, sebab some of question yang saya buat ada yang cerita dia seolah-olah memasukkan withholding tax tu dalam kos harga yang dia beli barang tersebut, and some of question dia asingkan harga kos and plus withholding tax. So actually in real life withholding tax tu macam mana kejadian dia? Maybe example dari Proton sendiri.
Ali, you punya ini soalan kebat ni. Saya ada slide tapi saya dah buang mana tetap. Dia macam ini. In reality, in normal circumstances, the withholding tax is to be borne by the payee lah, the supplier kan. Macam contoh tadi, kalau non-resident, they render services tu dekat Malaysia kan. They bill kita 1,000, sepatutnya by law, sepatutnya they are to bear the expenses lah, the withholding tax. Meaning that dia dapat cash 900 and then kita akan bayar ke lembaga khas 100. Tapi macam saya kata tadi tu, buat double tax relief, this non-resident company dia dapat 900 and then dia akan recover the 100 tu by way of double tax relief. Ya? Yeah? Kalau macam ni, kalau macam dalam keadaan ni, adik kan, the cost to the company is only 1,000 lah. Kan? Maknanya dia dapat invoice, withholding tax dia tolak daripada 1,000 tu. The cost to the company is only 1,000. Ada satu senario, kadang-kadang berlaku juga di Proton. Kadang-kadang ada non-resident dia tak nak bear the withholding tax. Adalah satu dua kes lah yang degil sikit tu. Dia kata, I don't want to bear withholding tax. So kalau macam itu adik kan, kalau non-resident bagi invoice 1,000, kalau ada withholding tax is 10%, maksudnya apa? Maksudnya kita kena recross. Kita kena bear, kalau Proton bear, maknanya kita bagi dia 1,000 kan? And then withholding tax is 10% of 1,000, 100. Maknanya kita bagi non-resident tu 1,000, Proton kena keluarkan 100, maknanya 100 dan bayar ke bank hasil, maksudnya the total cost is berapa? 1,100 kan? Jadi kalau tak silap saya soalan ada macam tu. Satu, kalau company to bear the withholding tax, this is international practice, is for the resident, for the non-resident to bear. Tapi dalam keadaan tertentu, kadang agreement dia mungkin the company tu dia overlook, kadang-kadang dia the non-resident dia macam perangkap lah. So that the company tu will bear the withholding tax. Kalau macam tu, you punya cost akan jadi 1,100. Jadi this is why it's important to put in the agreement to the correct clauses, so that the company does not bear the withholding tax. Does it answer you, Ali?
Ya, Uncle. Faham?
Boleh ya?
Boleh. Thank you, Uncle.
Okay, no problem. Yang lain ada ke apa-apa komen ke? Anissa? Sebenarnya? Do you learn something here? Yeah, ni Anissa? Kenapa bunyi jauh tu Anissa? Ni kat mana? Keramat? Ha?
Mic that.
Sorry?
Mic that.
Oh, network you. Tak okey. Tapi you boleh dengar ya? Boleh ya? Liza, do you learn something on this one?
Laptop dia
Ha?
Anissa,
rosak.
Miss Melissa tak terang dia punya suara tu.
Mikrofon dia rosak. Tapi dia boleh dengar.
Oh, mikrofon Anis tadi tu. I see. Anissa. Okay, what about you? Do you learn something? Yeah? Ada tak pernah buat soalan withholding tax untuk past year? Ada tak? Boleh you share sikit? Macam Ali tadi tu. So far tak pernah buat lagi ya? Nisa, ada buat? Nisa, buat soalan pasal withholding tax ada?
dah buat tapi lupa.
Oh, alah. Saya ada lah yang lain yang pernah buat soalan on withholding tax ni.
Pernah.
Cuba Fidaus share sikit tu.
Mungkin soalan mungkin simple. Mungkin dia tanya withholding tu untuk royalties.
Berapa besar ni itu?
Berapa persen dan berapa kena bayar kat LHDN.
Okey. Simple lah ya. Okey. Maknanya mungkin soalan 2 markah kot ya.
Maybe, tapi mostly jarang lah jumpa kat section B.
Section B is subjektif ya.
Ya.
So dia bawa section A objektif lah tu.
Maybe. Dah lupa.
Okey.
Ada juga soalan kat section A. Objektif.
Tapi itulah yang penting you faham dia punya rate tu, dia punya mekanisme tadi tu. And then itulah ya. InsyaAllah ya. Yang penting you all faham konsep tu lah. Okay, next one. Apa yang tak kena withholding tax ni, macam purchase of equipment and machineries, hardware tak kena. Sebab dia bukan on goods macam technical service tu on the labor portion saja. Material cost pun tak ada. Dia kalau disbursement ataupun out of pocket tu semua kena, kecuali hotel you must remember this one. Hotel accommodation memang lembaga hasil kata tak kena. And then kalau you make payment to local company tak kena. Resident kalau service perform asal Malaysia pun tak kena. Penalties amount will be debt due to government. Penalty will be imposed 10% on the gross, on the non-gross, on the itulah withholding tax amount tu. And then unless the withholding tax is settled, then you cannot claim, the company cannot claim tax deduction. Untuk technical services, okay, the general rate is 10%, but there are some variation macam Germany 7%, Singapore 5%, Taiwan 7.5%, UK 8%. So these are the exceptional cases lah. The rest of the cases biasanya dia 10% untuk technical service yang 109B tadi. And then example of computation ini yang kalau follow the law lah. I mean if the non-resident is to pay the withholding tax, hardware katalah 10,000, fee service in China 5,000, fee for service in Malaysia, disbursement hotel 300 ada 700, 1,000, total fee 18,000. So most subject to withholding tax yang mana? Yang merah saja ni. Yang service perform Malaysia 2,000 dan juga disbursement selain daripada hotel. So 2,700, withholding tax 10% to 70. Then you make payment to vendor 18,000 tolak to 70, you dapat this one. payment to IRB, this one lah. So, ini kalau keadaan di mana non-resident agree to bear withholding tax. Otherwise, kalau the agreement stated that the company need to bear, you kena recross lah. You kena bayar dia 18,000, then you not 18,000, then you kena top up 270 kan, sebab kalau company bear lah. Okay, that's all for Malaysian system. Ada apa-apa tak you all nak share lagi before I come to the next topic? Boleh ya?
Boleh Uncle.
Okay. Okay, next one kita go for income tax and liability for individual. So these are the syllabus there, incomes. Okay, let me share. Ini belum slide show ke? This is better kan? Is it better?
Nampak sama je.
Sama. Oh, dia GM macam tu ya? Bukan slideshow pun sama ya? Okey, tak apa. Ni besar sikit ya? Okey, untuk yang income tax liability untuk personal, okey, these are basically dia punya format dia. Tak complete tapi format. Okey. Format dia macam ni. So apa yang saya nak highlight kat situ, okay, there are few, kalau saya jadi you all, saya boleh cadangkan, kalau saya lah, kalau kita nak belajar, you ambil this thing, you letak dalam A3, dan you letak all the relevant clauses tu kan, you letak kat tepi-tepi around dia. Mungkin macam mind mapping lah, kan? Sebab dia is basically application of the law. So dalam kes biasa whatever taxes, the general concept is that you ada income, you ada expenses kan? Company pun sama, RBGT pun sama, sales tax service tu macam lain sikit lah. Tapi on the income tax ni biasanya, we are talking about income, then you ada expenses and you boleh claim. So the first area that you need to focus on the punya income side tu. Okay, the first one of course you have the employment income, salary, bonus, perquisite, benefit in kind, and then you ada juga ada income, rental, interest, business, royalty. Okay, and then then you must remember so that certain income exempted kan, ada schedule 6 ataupun clause yang lain tu, then you must understand. Macam baru-baru ni Izzah ada buat there is an interest, buat soalan yang interest come from Australia kan, so the one of foreign source income is exempted from personal tax kan. So itu contoh. So you kena tahu what are the taxable income and then what are the exempt income, yeah. And then kalau the income come from business, if the person is doing business, biasalah kalau business we will discuss after. So you ada profit dia berapa, and then you buat adjustment, you claim capital allowance kan, under the normal format of business tu. Okay, the rest okay good kan. So itu the first part yang you kena tahu. Second part is on the relief. Okay, dalam WhatsApp kan bincang dengan Anis dan Izzah tu, this is really require you punya knowledge on the condition of the relief. Kan? Macam child relief yang Izzah kata tak boleh sebab dia dah kahwin. Yeah? And then I share tu yang parental care tu boleh claim 1,500 per mother of parents yang lebih 60 tahun, tapi syarat dia tak claim medical expenses on the parent tu. Jadi saya rasa you all ada senarai dia kan ya. So you must ingat senarai tu. Dan yang mana applicable tu, you kena masuk-masukkan. So, child relief ni kadang yang disable, dia lain sikit kan. Contoh gitu. And then the third area, you need to understand, of course, how do you compute the tax liability lah. Of course, kita kena refer to the tax rate there. Then there's one area for, there's one area for the rebate, kan? Yang Anis highlight tu, if the chargeable income up to this one, chargeable income is less than 35,000, dapat rebate 400. Kalau the person pay zakat, whatever zakat, dia pun boleh dapat rebate. Yeah? And then lepas tu, of course, kalau orang tu bekerja, dia akan subject to monthly tax deduction, yang itu punya akan tolak. Then at the end of the day, you kena buat tax liability. Yeah, this is net tax liability lah. So, okay, this is the format for resident person. Tapi kalau non resident, yang saya macam tak boleh claim relief semua ni. Yeah. So then you need to understand the resident status. Section berapa tu? 7 ya. Resident status of person 7 ya. 7 A, B, C, D ya. Section apa yang determine resident status of a person?
Section 71 A, B, C and D.
71 A, B, C, D ya. Okey, dia berapa lebih 180 ke 182 ke 83?
82. 182.
82. Okey, yang lebih 182 hari, and then you link dengan preceding year, following year tu you all dah masak lah kan. Mungkin ada soalan kat situ. So then you can table ni, of course question akan bagi kan kalau tu. Then this is one of the 15 marks question compulsory. So itulah. Mungkin kalau you nak, you letak format ni dekat tengah-tengah you punya A3, then dekat keliling dia you put up all the relevant provisions lah. Kan? So tapi bila you buat soalan, then you get familiar lah after some time kan, then akan lagi ingat tu. Okay, ada siapa-siapa nak share yang on this topic? Dah habis untuk personal tax saya. Yang lain-lain bacalah ya. Dia punya
Angka.
anything to share? Ya.
Yang monthly tax deduction tu yang basic rate 800 tu ke apa ya?
Ya, untuk company, kalau employment income kan, kalau you serve with a company, dia akan tengok you tengok you punya status lah. You single ke, married ke, anak berapa ke, and then what is your income. So IRB ada dia punya table dia. Let's say mungkin in my case, contoh sajalah ya, bukan yang betul. Contohlah gaji 10,000 sebulan. Anak ada dah kahwin, anak 3 contoh kan. So daripada situ dia akan tengok, sepatutnya I kena bayar contoh katalah 1,000 sebulan. So dia akan tolak dalam my pay tu 1,000, and then 1,000 tu dia akan bayar kepada lembaga hasil. Dia akan buat untuk semua orang lah. Kalau you the company tu, the person tu earn more than, I tak ingat 2,500 ataupun 3,000, dia tak perlu bayar, so dia takkan tolak lah. Yang siapa tanya tadi yang 8,000 tu apa kaitan dia tu?
Tak, itu lain.
Ya, itu dalam monthly tax deduction tu. So bila you macam tu, then company akan keluarkan borang EA kan, statement of income for the year. Nanti daripada borang EA tu kita akan kena hantar borang BE, employment BE kan. So kita akan baca dan kita akan hantar dalam dalam bulan 4. Kalau bisnes, kalau dia ada bisnes dalam bulan 6. Kalau ni calendar year kan. Kalau tak ada bisnes bulan 4 dia kena hantar based on the EA form tu, penyata remuneration tu, then you buat calculation. Dia macam konsep dia macam company yang take estimate tu. So kalau you punya final assessment tu lebih daripada you punya monthly deduction tu kan. So kat sini kita ada monthly deduction. Kalau you dah tolak rebate semua, katalah you monthly deduction tu, katalah masih lagi kena bayar dan you kena bayar. Tapi kadang-kadang kalau you punya MTD semua you dah tolak semua ni, ada lebih, lembaga hasil akan refund you. Dia sama macam monthly deduction macam konsep take estimate itulah. Ya, kita bayar upfront tu. Okey. Yang lain ada?
Okay.
Uncle,
Ya.
lepas tu salary tu nak ambil gross income lah? Yang gross ke net?
Salary net, you mean net mana? Dia gross. Gross. Maksudnya net tu yang tolak apa? Tolak
EPF?
yang gross. Sebab EPF nanti dia allow you deduction kan, macam kat sini 4,000 ataupun takaful tu pun they give you 4,000 kan untuk deduction kan. So kat salary ni kena ambil gross lah. Ya. Boleh? Okay. So you all kena faham lah yang perkusin macam baru ni Anis ke Isa tanya, kalau tax on tax, kalau the company bear the tax for the employee kan. So the one is kind of benefit masuk dalam perkusin lah. And then benefit income, kereta lah, rumah lah. Kan, you all kena faham lah. Ya. Okay. Ada yang lain nak kongsi pengalaman buat soalan personal attack ni wajib kan ya? Memang ada kan? Saya nak tanya you all pakai buku apa ya untuk revision ni? Atau ulang kaji?
Buku BPP.
Buku apa? BPP tu apa? Oh yang tebal tu. Yang BPP ni yang tebal very wordy ke? Yang tebal yang very wordy tu.
Kita orang akan pakai buku BPP learning tu pasir dengan yang textbook dia, and then kita dapat lecture punya note.
Lectures punya notes okey tak? Comprehensive tak okey tak?
Okey.
Okey lah. Kalau
macam
Bina?
Yang Penang, sebab sini ada yang different college.
Okey.
So yang kalau yang Penang, kita orang guna lecturers punya book.
Okey.
Sebab lecturer saya dia buat mind map sendiri.
Oh, then very helpful tu.
Ya, dia buat mind map, memang tebal gila lah buku dia.
Oh, tebal gila.
Tebal.
Alamak.
And then kalau revision, dia pun rasanya lah dia orang buat lecturer saya buat short notes untuk every single bab ni.
Ya.
And then penuh dengan soalan pasir. Tu je lah yang Central College Penang ni.
Okey. Dia pada saya dia tak perlu yang tebal sangat tu, very scary, kita pun tak ada masa kan. Itulah kalau you saya boleh cadangkan mungkin you buat mind mapping. Katalah untuk satu topik ni mungkin 1 atau 2 A3 cukup. Kan, betul tak? Sebab yang pertama ni macam bahagian income kan. Income tu you ambil lah. Kalau royalty interest apa dia punya konsep dia. Bagi dia punya gunakan keywords dia kan. Macam relief, you ada satu bahagian untuk relief kan. And then bahagian rebate ni you more or less dah tahu kot. Jadi bila macam tu assignment you buat soalan tu, you put in the keywords dalam tu, dalam A3 ke A4 tu. Sebab benda tu berulang kan. Yang penting bila kita baca soalan tu nanti kita tahu kat mana kita nak letak benda tu kan. Contoh bila dia talk about relief semua kan, kita tahu this one, is it applicable, berapa jumlah dia kan. Income, bagian income you tengok ada tak exempted, adakah dia kena pick up yang kan. And then bagian rebate yang saya rasa dia 1 atau 2 A3 tu dah kan. Bila you buat next question, you dah dapat maklumat baru. Contoh mungkin the first question tadi dia tak cover pasal lifestyle punya relief, tapi soalan dia lah, you try to understand apa lifestyle punya relief tu, dan you letaklah short note kat sama yang tu bahagian relief tu, betul tak? Dia kena cakap, dia kena tahu kat mana you letak, dan you know dia punya basic principle behind the thing tu. Itulah, boleh try lah. Kalau banyak-banyak buku tebal-tebal, tak ada masa nak tengok kan. Tapi benda tu penting kalau you try to understand. Setelah you nak tahu macam parental care, apa dia punya condition kan, yang itu you kena rujuk lah. Tapi bila you dah faham dah, you tak perlu you dalam lebih 60 tahun, you letak kat situ dalam short note tu, dalam A3 tu letak tanda lebih 60. Lebih 60 you faham 10 tahun kan? Contoh gitu. And then lebih 60. No claim on medical expenses. Itulah you buat keywords tu. Jadi you akan lebih ingat benda macam tu. Itu cadangan lah. Pada saya kalau kita ada 5-6 topik tu, satu topik you buat A3 ataupun 2 A3 kan. Jadi we put everything dalam tu. Tengah-tengah format, kiri kanan atas semua you tengok dia punya main clause dia lah. You isi, you akan completekan bila you buat soalan kan. Gitu. Okay. Untuk yang company ni, kalau you perasan, the main portion tu is talking about the business source. You tahu kan company tag ni dia go by sources. So yang sebelah atas ni up to ini up to here is about talking about business source. And then of course you tambah in other passive income, interest income ke rental, then you got aggregate income. And then aggregate income you can reduce kalau ada business loss brought forward. And then you less donation, 10% of this one zakat, maximum 2.5% kan. Then you got check apa benda ni. And then you got tax liability 24%. So this is the format. And then of course to come to the business source income ni, you start dengan profit before tax lah, yeah. And then you buy adjustment. So in here you kena tahulah which item you can claim more, sebab this is between the accountant and the tax officer lah. So tax officer kata you need to do adjustment, sebab kadang-kadang dia tak setuju dengan accountant kan. So macam investment income, this one okay, I want to just focus on business income, so keluarkan interest, keluarkan rental. That's why yang ni you letak kat bawah sini, ada income kan. And then those yang capital loss or gain in nature you kena keluarkan. Okay, section 36 profit expenses you kena add back. Capital expenditure you kena add back. And then sometimes the company has got a double deduction, so you boleh claim. And then general provision you kena add back. Section 34.6 you kena tahulah ni apa dalam tu, and you boleh claim. So you akan dapat adjusted income, then you tambah balancing charge, you claim capital allowance, you dapat statutory income, then business loss, just statutory income ni you boleh claim current year loss kalau ada current year lah, ya. Current year loss. Sekejap. Current year loss
Uncle, yang
should
current
be
year
down here.
dia terbalik.
Yeah, betul. Betul. Sorry. That's why I pause. Sorry ya. You tukar ya, yang this one brought forward loss. Sebab mungkin dia ada positif kan. This one brought forward, this one current year. Current year is to cover you punya investment income kan. Okay, thanks. So, then you got ITR, RA kalau ada, then this is the format. So, you must remember this one, the format. And then macam saya kata tadi, you boleh buat dalam exercise juga. Kat keliling-keliling tu, you letak apa-apa yang penting. Contoh macam double deduction kan, apa benda yang qualify, apa dia punya kriteria dia ke apa kan, apa yang bisa keluar tu. Ya. Yeah? Dan apa item yang biasa you add ataupun you less kat sini kan, adjustment tu. You kena ingat lah, entertainment lah, lift passage lah, itu ini kan. You kena buat tambah-tambah lah kat situ. So this is another 15 marks punya question. So you must remember the format, and you kena tahu dia punya corresponding rows lah. Yeah. So ini for example deductible expenses tadi tu. So the requirement is that the deduction allows for revenue, kan, expenses for the business. Okay. And then ada section tu you kena tengoklah, saya pun tak ingat sangat ni. Example, non deductible domestic private use pre-operating expenses, capital in nature ni biasa kalau dia berkaitan dengan loan, organisation structure ataupun share tu biasa capital lah. Depreciation you kena add back, general provision kena add back, APF more than employer contribution to unapproved kalau approve, kalau dia letak unapproved tu kena tak boleh claim lah. APF yang more than 80 lebih 90% pun you kena, yang lebih itulah yang tak boleh claim. Non-approved donation, kalau disebut dalam soalan tu lah. Entertainment to outsiders, employee depreciation report, ini semua adalah contoh-contoh. So you boleh letak dekat tepi-tepi sini kan. Contohnya adalah bila you buat soalan, ada benda yang dia kena add back apa, you tambah kat situ kan. Jadi orang kata short note lah, just letak keyword saja, macam EGM kan, tak payah letak expenses tu, katalah annual report ataupun APF lebih 19 kan, jadi you letak keyword saja. Okay, so on the CA-IBA, because you tahu kan kita ada initial allowance on the new asset. So IBA 30%, ini semua by kategori 20%. And then on the annual allowance you ada IBA 10, yang lain 10, 14, office 10, general fund 14, heavy 20, komputer 40. Contohlah, mungkin kalau ada law baru you all adopt, takut saya uncle punya notan mungkin agak lama sikit. And then dia ada small value asset, kadang-kadang dia go to PNL kan, tapi income tax law kata kita kena add back, tapi kita claim CA, and then dia bagi this one lah, tapi dia bagi one shot lah, 100% under AA. Yeah, this is limited to 20,000 cost, qualifying expenditure, per item is about 2,000 kalau tak silap saya ni. Yeah, so this is about the law on the CA, IBA, and then apa yang kualifikasi IBA tu you kena faham lah. Insentif, saya rasa macam tak berapa cover dalam ni kan, dia advance, lebih kepada advance tu. You tahulah kalau antara insentif dan status tax lower ni, biasanya bila new company they either claim salah satu ni. So kalau the company is making good profit at the early years, so they go for pioneer status sebab dia dapat income tax exemption. Kalau dia high capex, capital intensive, banyak buat kilang semua tu, dia go for ITA. Macam peraturan kita go for ITA lah, sebab early years tak dapat profit, so kita claim ITA dan boleh reduce the future punya profit tu. And then next, after this one, kalau dah habis, biasanya company akan claim ROI investment allowance. And then on top of that kita ada macam-macam double deduction lah. Dalam kesempatan kita claim promotional support, research expenditure, local advertisement of local brand name kan. So kalau this one relevant in your syllabus, you kena tahulah apa yang qualify, apa condition dia. Okay, that for the company tax. Anybody want to comment or share? Itu I just highlight the general concept ya, tapi kalau ada respective law tu you all kena buat soalan dan kena take note ya. Siapa nak share yang ni? On the company tax.
Aku nak tanya dulu.
Okay.
Kalau approve donation yang tolak lepas dia dapat aggregate income tu kan, kalau dia
kat sini ya?
Ya situ.
Ya.
Kita just boleh donation in cash ke ataupun donation cash, which is kita donate guna cash, baru kita boleh tolak. Kalau in kind
Ya.
macam mana?
Yang ini dia in cash. Yang ni if I remember correctly, this one is yang in cash.
Kalau in kind tak boleh tolak lah dekat tu.
Internet of tadi. You boleh tak cash in kind dekat sini? Yang saya faham, yang approve donation ni untuk cash donation. You give to the approved institution status. Kalau you punya cash in kind, kalau you donation in kind, dia masuk bawah clause lain lah, itu gift of goods kan. Gift of goods tu, you kena claim deduction dekat atas lah. Kat sini, kalau you give of goods tu, kalau goods tu barang tu carry company logo, then you can claim deduction. Kalau the goods tu tak carry company logo, you tak boleh claim deduction. Okay.
Okay, Uncle, faham.
We move to RPGT. RPGT, Real Property Gains Tax. So this is still under lembaga asil. You got just now personal tax, company tax, now is RPGT. So basically, sorry, I got this one from Google. Basically, RPGT is born untuk property lah. Property, biasanya tanah ataupun bangunan ataupun rumah tu. Biasa kalau kita jual rumah ataupun tanah tu ataupun shop lot tu subject to RPGT. So the thing is that you compare between you punya harga jualan, harga jualan you tolak dengan harga belian. Okay, harga jualan tolak harga belian. Tapi dalam kes untuk harga jualan, the tax authority allow you to claim certain expenditure. Incidental cost ni adalah yang sinilah, legal fees, stamp duty, advertisement. Sebab this is incidental to the bila you nak jual rumah tu ataupun tanah, you need to incur those expenses. So terima kasih boleh kata harga jualan tu you tolak. Consideration ni harga jualan And then you also can claim permitted expenses, permitted enhancement cost to the building tu, ataupun legal fee depending land property title. So katalah you buat rumah, biasanya buat renovation, okay, so those cost tu you boleh tolak lah daripada harga jualan you. Okay. And then you compare this disposal price and you compare dengan acquisition price. Okay, acquisition price of course you got berapa yang you bayar, and then incidental cost refer to the same thing. Kan masa you beli dulu, and then recoveries. Kalau ada recoveries, these are the recoveries. So you boleh tolak. You kena tambah this one lah. You tambah ya. And you dapat acquisition price, you compare the two, disposal, compare the acquisition, you akan dapat dia punya chargeable gain ataupun allowable loss. And then if you got chargeable gain, you will be able to claim exemption under para dua schedule 4 ni. 10,000 or 10% of chargeable gain, whichever is higher. Yeah? Okay. On this part ni saya tak berapa clear. This is still relevant ke? Yang this part ni. Is this still relevant? Saya takut saya pick up the old Is this still relevant?
Still relevant.
Okay, you know better lah ya. Angka dah lama tak buat benda ni. Ya. Ada juga real case proton. Last year kita dapat refund 300,000 sebab bila lembaga hasil computer assessment tu, kita dah jual property tu, dia dekat sini dia tak consider. Hold on, masa spell.
Yang Uncle mention exemption
Ya
order
ataupun
tu
iyalah. Bangunan tu dia tak masuk. Tak, yang apa?
Uncle nak tahu exemption order tu relevant lagi ke tak?
Tak, yang bahagian ni. Do you see my this one pointer ni? Yang exemption order PU ni 2009.
Yang tu tak sure sebab rasanya Miss
This
Alex
thing
tak
still
ada.
apa ni relevant. Itulah saya takut benda ni all question kan Tak apa, you adapt accordingly lah to your punya current punya syllabus. Kalau tak ada you just try lah ya. Tapi yang atas ni memang ada kan. Cuma yang kat sini ni saya tak pasti ni. Ya. Okay, tak apa. So macam tak apalah, then you bila you buat soalan you kena understand lah mana yang boleh tolak, mana yang boleh campur, yang perlu campur ya. Basically you want to determine the net gain on the disposal. Then daripada gain tu, of course you kena refer to dia punya table lah. Table dia, you tengok are you individual ataupun are you company. Kalau you company, kalau you dispose within 3 years, then the rate is 30% kan. Kalau in the 4th year, the rate is 20%, reduces 15. Saya is this the rate sekarang dipakai? You all pastikan Saya takut ada pertukaran kat situ. Rasa masa sama kan? So if you are individuals, of course they split between the non-citizen ataupun non-permanent resident. Kalau yang normal person, yang normal Malaysia ni, you fall under this one lah. Yeah. Okay, this is one thing. And then the next one, there are banyak RPJT exemption ni. Dalam buku tu is long list, tapi yang saya nampak these are antara contoh lah yang penting kan. Contoh yang penting, yang this one yang kita sebut tadi, 10,000 ataupun 10%. And then you are given 1 times exemption for you punya private residential property. Kan? Okay. And then kalau there is a transfer between husband and wife money, this one also exempted. This is new development ikut low cost, low medium cost, affordable housing price below 200,000 will be exempted. Ini yang agak baru lah ni. Okay. So, is that okay untuk RPJT? So again, I would recommend you buat satu A3 and then letak tepi-tepi tu dia punya relevant law lah. Kan? As and when you buat soalan tu, you fill up you punya notes tu. Okay, any comments on this one? Tapi ni this one tak ada soalan section C So tapi still need to understand lah. Sebab the expectation is to explain and to compute the kemungkinan bahagian B kot dia akan keluar ni ya. Ada yang ada pengalaman ni soalan pasti ya.
Kalau yang waktu kita ambil exam December tu, dia keluar both on objektif dengan subjektif.
Wow, so kuat. Yalah, fair lah sebab this is a main topics kan Apa soalan dia tu? Ni, boleh share. Apa soalan dia lebih kurang?
Dia kalau saya ingat sikit je yang part subjektif tu, dia akan bagi like 2-3 property. And then dia akan explain dia punya expenses, dia either private residential ataupun tak. And then kita kena compute.
Itulah kan. So kalau private ni mungkin boleh dapat exemption satu kan. So it's a big topic kat sini. So itulah, tak ada cara lain lah ya. Semua kena buat soalan dan you build up you punya notes tu. Ya. Apa yang boleh claim, apa yang tak boleh claim semua. Dan you tengok table ni lah. Table ni, so which right to use lah. And then the exemption clauses. You kena faham tu. Boleh ya? Move to the next one mungkin. Okay, the last two topics. Sales tax ya. So sekarang kita, this is under custom. Macam kita bagi tahu tadi, this is consumption tax. Consumer kena bayar. Ya. Tapi okay, sales tax is relevant untuk goods manufactured yang dikilang di Malaysia. Macam Proton kita kilang kereta, so kita bayar sales tax kepada custom. And Proton juga import goods, so bila kita buat tax clearance dekat port tu, kita pun kena bayar kepada custom. Okay, it's not subject to good listed under the sales tax exempted. Ada banyak barang yang dikecualikan, so you don't have to pay sales tax. And then there are also manufacturing activities that is exempted. Things like tailoring, jeweler ataupun optician. Okay, sales tax basically we pay at 10% ataupun some are at 5%. Some are exempted. Untuk petroleum there is a specific rate kan. Ada dia punya formula dia. I'm not sure whether it's covered in your syllabus. Kalau covered, you kena fahamkan sikit lah. And then the sales tax registration is if the sale you lebih kepada 500,000. Okay. So this is the diagram. Kalau katalah I register like Proton, anything that untuk dia punya bahan mentah, anything that comes in, sepatutnya I don't have to pay. Proton tak perlu bayar sales tax. Sebab dia sales tax ni bila you keluar saja. Masa input tu dia tak ada, masa you keluar. Ya. So katalah if you kind of facilities ataupun exemption, katalah you beli plant and machinery untuk manufacturing, this one is exempted under item 55 schedule A. Katalah you buy component and parts, kan, component and parts, there are exemption under item 1 schedule C, no need to pay. Kalau component you get through trading company, katalah Proton dia beli daripada trading daripada manufacturer, so this one fall under item 3 schedule C. Sometimes unit services, yeah, sub assembly contract cover, you get the exemption from under item 5 schedule C services. So yang masuk ni semua tak ada sales tax kecuali yang import tadi ya. Kalau import masa even import pun dia tak ada sales tax. Dia ada exemption under this category lah. So bila Proton buat kereta, bila dia jual, kalau ekspor dia kosong. Kalau we sell to trading company like Proton Ida kena 10%. Kalau we sell direct to the customer 10%, unless to the exempt parties. Ya. Yeah? Macam Sultan ke ataupun government department semua tu, so dia exempt parties, so kita tak perlu impose. Ya. Yeah? So trading company to this one depend pada this one juga lah. Kalau non exempted, tapi dia kat sini dia sales tax tu dekat level manufacturer kepada sini saja. Bila dah sampai kepada trading kepada customer, dia dah tak tunjuk dah. Kalau jual kereta, dia tak macam GST. Kalau GST you kena tunjuk dekat invoice dekat all levels. Tapi untuk sistem ni dia tunjuk invoice hanya dekat level manufacturer saja. Manufacturer jual kepada trading ataupun ni, kalau ada sistem dia kena tunjuk ke invoice. Lepas trading dia tak tunjuk dah, dia embedded dalam price tu. Ya. Yeah? So as we know, sistem is 10% of taxable value. Okay. Let me complete first. So there are a few ways to minimize this tax. Yang pertama, register manufacturer to apply exemption under schedule 55E yang tadi saya sebut. Okay, ini untuk machinery, plant machinery. Register manufacturer to make full use of exemption under item 1 schedule C yang saya sebut tadi tu. This cover raw material, component, packaging material, manufacturing aids. Ya, yeah? Inilah benda-benda untuk penghilangan tu. Register manufacturer to apply exemption as item 33. Schedule C ni kalau beli yang benda-benda ni melalui trading company, dia ada orang tengah dia. Register manufacturer to apply exemption for subcontract work service under item 5 schedule C. Ini untuk services lah. Okey, ini yang saya tunjuk yang tadi lah. Ya. Yeah? Itu summary. 1 to 4 adalah summary yang tiga tadi. Then make sure no step for good listed. Kalau benda tu exempted, so make sure kita jangan bayar lah. Ya. Yeah? And then make sure no step from manufacturer listed and the system exemption. Ya, yeah? Ni. Kalau beli mask ke ataupun cermin mata tu sepatutnya tak ada sales tax. Okay, make sure no ST from non-registered company. Sales tax can only be imposed by the registered manufacturer. Jadi itu yang kalau dia lebih 500,000 dia kena register. Otherwise dia tak perlu register. If the company is not registered, dia tak boleh impose sales tax. Okay, and then okay, registered. Where system is applicable, make sure the rate used is correct. Yeah. In general banyak 10% lah, tapi some are fast, some are specific rate. To apply the refund, drawback, remission. This one, saya nampak dalam yang syllabus tu ada topik ni. So you try to understand lah. Macam drawback ni mungkin macam dalam kes Proton, dia import X70 masa awal-awal dulu, dia bayar sales tax di port Klang. So bila kereta tu kita ekspor balik, sepatutnya bila for export goods kita tak kena sales tax, tapi sebab kita dah bayar upfront, jadi kita boleh dapat drawback. So drawback kita ada borang dia semua, hantar dokumen ke custom, dan the condition is that the export must take place within 3 months kan. Jadi kita kena fahamkan condition dia lah. Kalau remission ni kalau tak silap saya, dia macam if you impose weight penalty kan, you can ask the custom to remit lah. Ya, tu macam waiver lah. Ya. So tak apa, you all cuba fahamkan dia punya each of this keyword ni dalam keadaan apa yang dia boleh dapat. Basically kita kena dapat balik lah ataupun kita minta waiver of the penalty itu. Okay, so this one the way this one kita menggunakan borang SST02. Kalau company kita menggunakan borang C kan untuk income tax, tapi untuk custom for tax purposes kita gunakan borang SST02 online. Kita bagi tahu custom what is the taxable value of the goods, and then berapa persen, 10% berapa we need to pay. And then kalau ada exemption ke apa, kita kena bagi tahu kat dalam tu lah. Then this one, this is the website to access to the system, custom website ni. And then this is the form lah, the front page of the form, dia ada dalam 2-3 muka surat. This is the front page of the form. Okay, we must submit on bi-monthly basis. Contoh January February kita hantar March, April kita hantar May, June kita hantar Julai dan sebagainya ya. Dan on bi-monthly basis, same form used for service tax that we cover after this one. Due for filing and payment by the end of the following month after 2 months taxable period. Yeah. Okey, dan on sales tax, ada apa-apa komen ke ni? Hello?
Tak ada.
Boleh?
Boleh.
Ada soalan? Bagi share sikit soalan SCCA, sales tax macam mana? Biasa dia apa? Bahagian A ke bahagian B ni?
Dia bahagian A tu dia akan tanya soalan teori, bahagian B dia akan suruh compute sales tax tu lah.
So far tak ada masalah ya? Ada apa-apa ke ni? Isu tak ada ya?
Tak ada.
Okay. Saya habiskan dulu ya. Okay, the last part is on the service tax. Yeah? Service tax, tadi kalau service tax tadi itu adalah barang-barang ya. Barang-barang lah, kita jual beli barang-barang benda yang fizikal. Tapi service tax we refer to the service. Yeah? So service tax is a tax charge on any provision of taxable service made in the course of furtherance of any business by a taxable person. Effective 1 January 2019, this one is relevant to the taxable imported services. Effective 1 January 2020, also applicable to imported digital services. Saya nak tanya you all, these two ni masuk tak dalam you punya syllabus? Taxable imported services and imported digital services. Hello?
Tak sure pula.
Lecturer tak nak sebut ni?
Dia tak tekan sangat.
So this one quite new. What happened is that dulu dia just focus on the local, tapi sekarang ni dia even imported services pun kadang dia import benda ni. Ya? Kalau digital ni nanti saya cover sikit lah. Okay, it's not charged on exported services, parts good related to the service. So SST is the business cost. Ini mungkin ada soalan B. Ini kalau GST tu dia bukan business cost sebab kita ada GST apa? Input tax dan output kan. Kita boleh reverse kat situ. Tapi kalau service tax ni dan sales tax pun dia adalah business cost. Sebab we have to pay together with the service and ataupun goods yang kita belilah. And then service tax 6% of taxable value or specific rate of $25 per credit ataupun cash card. The registration threshold is 400,000 except for food and beverage 1.4 million. Kedai mamak 1.4 million lah kan. Okay. And credit card provider ini tak ada threshold lah. Okay. Okay, talking about taxable services, only services that are listed here, are subject to service tax. Ya, kalau dia tak listed dalam kat sini dia tak subject itulah. Okay, then only those yang have got sales more than 500,000, except for food beverages 1.4 million, need to register. Tapi kalau ada orang nak volunteer register pun tak ada masalah, boleh. So only when they register for the service tax, they can charge the customer. Yeah. One thing to know is that under group G ni, okay, under group G ni, kalau you punya threshold tu you kena combine dia. Yeah, katalah legal fee 100,000, accounting 200,000, professional 300,000. This one you combine, kalau lebih 500,000 you kena register. Yeah, the rest stand on their own lah. Okay. Ni yang saya masukkan tadi yang baru tu lah, imported services dengan tu. Okay, service tax tu, kalau dalam service tax tadi kita banyak assumption dekat before the manufacturing kan. Dekat service tax ni yang saya boleh ingat, mungkin ada yang lain, dia ada B2B, business to business assumption. Katalah supply ni supply the service to company A, and company A pass the service to company B. Kan, contoh audit fee lah. Contoh audit fee, katalah yang Senyang ni, dia buat audit fee, dia charge kepada Proton Holding. Potong link katalah 1,000, tapi actually potong link is not the beneficiary. The beneficiary katalah company B kan. So what happens is that dia charge kepada company A, dan company A kan sepatutnya dia under reimbursement tu, konsep tu dia kena ni, tapi dia tak nak double tax sebab as you know SST is a single tax system kan, dia bukan macam GST itu multi level kan. Kalau SST ni single tax maknanya kita boleh apply B2B business. Okay, B2B exemption. Maknanya this one tak payah, only this one yang kena. Tapi this one only limited to group G punya service ya. Group G punya service yang ada B2B. Betul ke? Saya ingat ni. Kalau tak silap saya lagi tu lah ya. So and then untuk yang for service tax applicable to make use bukan ada E kat situ, the group exemption. Okay, ini kalau services under group G ni pun, kalau the service is rendered within the group, okay, dia tak perlu impose service tax. Okay, this one still apply. Kalau dia render services to external party outside the group below 5% of the value of the service tu. Kalau dia above the moment you exceed 5%, semua yang you within the group pun kena juga service tax tu. Boleh ya? So kita ada group exemption kalau services to external party less than 5%. The moment you exceed, semua kena. Okay. Make sure no service tax from non-registered service provider lah, ya. Yeah? Kalau company ataupun tu is not registered, of course they cannot impose you with the service tax. Okay. Ini sedikit on the imported taxable services kan. So this one on any imported taxable services required by in person who carry on in Malaysia. Okay, kata Proton katalah kita apply consult use consultant to do some job in Proton, so that one consider imported taxable service. Okay, effective from position still 6%. I think the idea is to orang kata nak be fair to the local player lah. Kalau local player ada 6% tapi imported tak ada, jadi macam tak fair kan. This is fine lah, as well as to increase the government punya revenue. And then of course kalau you this one kalau kena register lah ya, kena register. Tapi kalau you dah register for the service tax already for the local service tu, then you just need to top up je lah dalam you punya barang SST02 tu. Kalau you have not registered, of course kalau you just on the imported services, you kena ada barang 02A. 02A ni untuk company yang not yet registered for the service tax, yang dia hanya ada imported taxable services, local dia tak ada. So dia kena isi barang 02A dan the return on monthly basis. Kalau yang biasa 02 kan, kalau dia dah ada register for service tax other than imported, 02 by monthly. Tapi kalau hanya imported, then the requirement is to have a SST02 declaration to A on monthly basis. So example, overseas training fee tak kena, local training by trainer kena, software license, software maintenance ni semua kena, online data subscription pun kena. Yang ni semua tak kena lah ya. So basically on the imported, and then the digital ni dia the difference between this one and the imported is the digital ni, the digital provider dekat overseas tu dia kena register. Dia kena register kalau upon reaching the threshold of 100,000, dia kena register. Bila dia keluar invoice kepada kita, dia kena put the sales tax on their invoice. Foreigner meeting the threshold, supply the taxable services, they must register when they issue invoices to kita, they must show on the invoices dia punya sales tax of 6% tu. Ya, itu. And then these are the things lah, apa yang fall under the digital services. Okay, so Iza and all, I hope there's a better life with clear concept of tax in mind. I hope you dapat something, yalah, how does it work and how does it fit in into kita punya ekonomi, kan? And then my last slide before Q&A kalau ada, I tak tahu mungkin Yunus better to pass XCC macam XCC kalau macam saya kata tadi, use correct exam technique 25%. I ingat lagi there's one lecturer from UK, I still remember dia kata pada saya this contribute 30% sebab dulu pengalaman saya belum buat CCA, saya beberapa kali juga tak lulus. Passing mark dulu 50, sekarang sama apa ya? So selalu 50 ya. So dulu saya selalu dapat 48, 47 kan. Until I got this tips from the lecturer from UK tu, examiner kot. Kata kita tak sempat nak being perfect kecuali yang very genius lah. So what happens is that kita kena grab as many marks as possible from all the question. Yeah, meaning to say is that you must allocate time tu, kena betul-betul allocate. Kalau you allocate section A, katalah katalah 15 soalan, 15 soalan, katalah saya tidak tahu, mungkin 20 minit. You 20 minit you stop. Jangan duk kira-kira lagi kan. Forget that one. You move to the next section. You must be disciplined. Yeah? Okay. According to the lecturer tu, to get marks from the new question is easier than from the old question. Katalah kita buat yang bahagian C tu, yang personal income tax, kita tak tally ataupun macam something suarakan, kita dah spend, kita lupa nak buat yang bahagian company tax kan. So padahal bila you stop dekat personal tax tu, you move to the next question, you akan dapat, it's easier for you to get marks kan. So itulah dia punya konsep dia tu. Then number 2 is use study approach. Frankly speaking, I buat decision on my own. I buat degree, and then sebab UK degree dia tak recognized by MIA, so I have no choice. I say for CCA, I belajar sendiri, I pergi kelas malam lah, and then masa dekat exam tu ada ke revision kan. So memang I tak sempat nak baca buku tebal-tebal tu, memang saya tak pernah usik lah. So memang caranya the best way is to do question. Just buat. First time around mungkin you tak faham, tengok answer. Second time mungkin you lebih faham kan. And then of course kalau you dapat lecturer yang membantu tu, for taxation, I pergi kelas Dr. Cukup Ifat kalau di KL lah. You tak tahulah. So dia sampai sekarang, so dia saya punya reference point lah untuk taxation kan. Jadi buat soalan. Okay, kalau bila you tak pasti baru you refer pada lecturer tu, refer pada buku. Kalau you baca buku, you akan jadi panik sebab tak bisa buat soalan, whether this is application kan. You kena buat soalan supaya you get familiarized. Sebab dia kata you buat A3, you buat nota kat situ, then you tahu where to put the things tu kan. Next one, allocate time to make revision and question. So I jumpa ramai student Melayu, ramai yang bijak pandai tapi dia fail. Sebab apa? Dia tak spend time for it. So saya harap you all peruntukkanlah masa ya, kurangkan apa-apa gadget ke movie ke apa tu, ACCA dia tak susah tapi dia tak senang. Itulah lah. ACCA ni tak susah kalau you study, you belajar, boleh pass, tapi dia tak senang jugalah. Ya, tapi tak susah pun kalau can be done lah, can be done. You tahu kan masa zaman saya dulu kena ambil 3 professional level tu, kena ambil 3 papers in one shot, you all tahu kan?
Tak.
Dulu sampai dulu my time dulu, saya ambil sebab saya got degree, saya got exempted yang bawah-bawah tu lah. Professional level I got 6 paper. So untuk yang modul E tu I can ambil 3 paper at one shot. Kalau salah satu fail, I kena resit the whole thing. Kan? I kena resit the whole thing. Katalah I got 2 paper pass, walaupun excellent, tapi satu paper tu sangkut, katalah 48 markah kan, I have to resit all over again. So you can see how challenging masa kita punya time dulu. Tapi alhamdulillah, yalah dengan sedikit pengalaman tu, saya professional level saya ambil satu sitting ni dua-dua tu. Modul E satu sitting, modul F satu sitting, 3. Walaupun alhamdulillah satu paper tu saya dapat 50 markah je, ngam-ngam je. Otherwise aku tu resit. Ya. Jadi yang saya fail yang saya kata tadi adalah modul sebelum profesional tu, masa saya awal-awal saya ambil sebab saya belajar sendiri. Tapi saya salah cara belajar saya. Okey, exam teknik tu tak betul, exam tadi saya pun tak betul masa tu. So the moment kita dapat punya teknik tu, insya-Allah akan ni lah. Okay, look at time tu. So sebab ini bukan storytelling, you boleh main ni, tak ada. Dia kena fakta dan figure. You kena faham dia punya rules and regulation tu, only then you can gain marks lah. Okay lah, sekali of course doa lah, semayang dan doa, dan minta restu daripada ibu bapa ya. Kalau boleh jangan gaduh dengan ibu bapa lah ya. So insyaAllah dengan restu mereka tu, it makes things easier for you, insyaAllah the success will come to you. Okay, I think I have done what I want to say today. Kalau ada Q&A ataupun soalan-soalan tu, bolehlah kalau nak share tu. So saya basically saya share konsep behind those texts tu. Jadi harap boleh membantu you nampak lah kat mana angle-angle yang you patut stress tu. And then buat soalan insya-Allah tu. Okay, you all ni kira semua kena receipt kan ni ataupun ada new student ni?
Receipt.
Receipt. Kadang-kadang certain area tu memang kadang-kadang saya open, kadang-kadang memang benda yang tak selalu kita bakar sebab you know text is very wide. Tapi this thing memang saya ada buat di office lah, cuma kadang-kadang pas kena text tu tak pernah manage tapi things change kan. Kadang-kadang on the specific law tu memang kadang-kadang saya pun tak ingat. Tapi kalau you tunjuk the specific provision tu, macam minta tolong saya try to understand macam yang you all ada buat dalam WhatsApp kan. Saya cuba bantu macam tu lah. Nak cuba fahamkan dia punya understanding of the text law tu kan. Tapi kalau on specific item tu kadang-kadang kita pun kadang tak buat, kita pun tak ingat apa yang tu. Kena tunjuk the specific law tu. Okay, obat kadang-kadang dia nampak dia tak tahu nak fit benda tu kat mana kan. Tapi macam saya mention tadi, kalau you buat satu kategori tu satu A3, you letak tengah-tengah dia punya format dia tu kan, and then surrounding tu tengok dia punya law dia, sepatutnya akan lebih nampak lah.